So, after that boring race in Zandvoort, we arrive in Monza for the Italian Grand Prix, and this historic track is undoubtedly one of the best on the calendar and produces good races often, but most importantly, it is of course home to Ferrari, and may be the reason for me going missing. So, is it? Or was the race good for not only Ferrari, but for Formula 1 as a whole? Well, in my opinion, it was great. Not the best race of the season, but yeah. Also, Ferrari won. I told you all that the championship starts now. So with the weekend now concluded and us having to wait 2 weeks now for Baku, let us recap the race weekend as well as discussing who the winners and losers were. But before we do all of that, I want to give a quick shout out to all members of the flock, and I would appreciate it if you joined so we could all fight in the war against the FOM Devils. So enough yapping, and let us discuss who the winners and losers were for this year's Italian Grand Prix. But before we discuss that, let us recap the weekend starting with Friday, and of course, there was a massive news that Logan Sargent's wings were finally shot down by James Vowles, successfully killing freedom in our sport. And to replace him is Franco Colapinto, who is another Williams Jr. that is being rushed in the sport, so good call there, Vowles. Also, it was announced that Kimi Antonelli would finally drive an FP1 in front of his home crowd, so he is set on a qualifying program and sets one lap before dropping at the Parabolica and crashing out. Yikes. But it's not too bad, since the resurfacing is catching a lot of drivers out everywhere on track, and we saw that with K-Mag where he dropped it at the second Lesmo, so you know what I say? Run Turkey 2020 back again. Anyways, Saturday now, and Franco Colapinto nearly bins it. However, he keeps it on track, and considering it's his first weekend, I'm actually impressed with him since he does show some pace, so let's see how he does. Anyways, Q2 was pretty uneventful, which means in Q3 in the fight for pole, the winner would be McLaren, since they got pole and Oscar got a nice P2, securing the front row, so again, let us see how they bottle this one in the race. Anyways, race time, and bro, there's 3 things guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and a Norris lap 1 bottle. Anyways, Piastri now leads, and Norris is told they could fight papaya style, whatever that means, but we wouldn't see it because Lando struggled with his tires, which means that at the end of it, both McLarens pit and leave Ferrari out 1-2, and Sainz sacrificed himself so Charles can win. I kid you not, I was shaking, and when we crossed the line, I was damn near moved to tears. I told you, the championship starts now. Now let's move on to the winners and losers, and as always, losers first, and we have good old gambling live streaming F1 team. You know, I might stop including them here because if Logan was low-hanging fruit, then this fruit is already on the ground. They just disappoint week in, week out, no pace, no strategy, no upgrades, just nothing. If Bottas does resign for them, then I'd strap in if you're a Valtteri fan because things aren't going to improve until 2026, and even then, nothing is a given in this sport, so who knows. But yeah, bad quality, bad race, nothing special yet again, and we can only pray for Hülkenberg and Valtteri now. Next up is the Nepo baby, and surprise surprise, the dude sucks. AMR brought some upgrades I believe to the car, and while Fernando had a decent showing in the car, the Nepo baby again is just nowhere and disappointing all of Canada and Formula 1 fans yet again. Quali was nothing to be proud of either, since considering a driver who is running his first race is only a 10th behind you in a Williams, and the race was just even more disappointing since this guy just stayed in place and barely moved ahead. Like, it infuriates me because Stroll can be so much more, but I don't know, the inconsistency of him just reeks and I desperately need him gone. Pull the plug, crack. Next, we have VCarb, and in comparison to Haas, they might be cooked. But it's too early to tell though, but as it stands, they have some ground to make up, since while Ricciardo certainly wasn't that bad, they still left with no points and dropped ground to Haas again. And Yuki had one of, if not his worst weekend this weekend, since he was off the pace compared to Haas and Ricciardo, plus Hülkenberg kamikazing him. And this is bad, since Yuki has been the best driver arguably in that fight, so he has to step it up in Baku. So all around, performances need to improve at VCarb if they still want a chance at competing with Haas for 6th in the standings. Moving on, we have Magnussen, and compared to what his teammate Nico Hülkenberg did, not the best showing for the Viking. However, he wasn't that bad, it wasn't like he was terrible, just a little disappointing. Anyways, quali wasn't too spectacular from him, and the race wasn't anything to boast about either. However, if there's anything good to say with his performances, he did some classic K-Mac things by being a menace, so that's always fun. Anyways, in the battle for 6th, he now has to bring his A game since the season is rapidly closing, so let's see what he can do. Post at a duck here, I did not know he scored points whatsoever. He completely dropped out of my radar, so completely disregard everything I said, and matter of fact, he's probably a winner. Finally, we unfortunately have Red Bull, since of course they didn't have a bad weekend, but they also kinda did, since McLaren are now directly behind them, and they have no one else to blame but themselves. They sacrificed car development for their second driver, and while yeah, Checo is closer now, they are more behind to the other 3 cars, and Max is clearly fed up, since according to his dad, he was complaining about the balance of the car since the start of the season, and no one listened to him, and Max is clearly at the point of anger where you just find peace. So overall, they need to figure something out now, otherwise they could kiss that championship goodbye. Now onto the winners, and first up, we have McLaren, and check them officers, they have to be cheating. I would not be surprised if they broke the cost cap or have some illegal part on, since this performance is just ridiculous to be found in 2 upgrade packages, and I should know considering we did the same in 2019. Anyways, if I have to praise them, then good job to Oscar for getting a great quali and race result, and this guy's just so awesome, how could you not love him? But for real though, they were almost losers on this list, since they did some very questionable things with the strategy, plus with Lando, so they are treading on very thin ice right now. Next up, we have Ferrari, and I am so damn happy. I was close to losing it, and I probably would have lost it had we did that, but we did it. We did a Russell Spa, I hope not to be honest, and we won on the 1 stop while others did a 2 stop. Sure, McLaren bottled it, but I don't care, we won, and that's all that matters. I'm still shaky, man, I can't believe it. Next is Ricciardo, and I know VCarb is on the losers list, however, I did say Ricciardo wasn't that bad, since he wasn't. He did some lovely overtaking, as well as staying on pace and even outperforming that dogwater VCarb, and to thank him, the team messes up his penalty, which gives him another penalty. Oh, by the way, he did get a penalty for punting Hülkenberg off the road in lap 1, so yeah, overall, he did have a good but scruffy weekend, and to be honest, I had no idea who else to put. Moving on, we have Nico Hülkenberg, and how does this man do it? You could give him a literal tractor and he will find a way to stick it in Q3. When I said Yuki was the best driver in the battle for 6th arguably, I said arguably because it's between him and Nico, so let me know who you think it is. Anyways, in quali, he got into Q3, and in the race, he did get a penalty for terrorism on Yuki, which did kill his race, which is bad, but he is still here because had the incidents not happened, he could have been in points contention, so overall, good weekend, but could be better, so he is still here in my opinion. Upon further reflection, I put him on the losers list now because I don't think his performance was really winners worthy. Plus, it has just been announced that Kevin Magnussen has received a race ban, which means we will see Ollie Behrman in Baku, and now Haas, the team in general, is on the losers list. Finally, we have Williams, since Albon cooked, and while yeah, Franco got out in Q1 and the race led to no points, he honestly impressed me since I fully expected him to be a hog behind the Saubers. However, he seems to be competent, and I really hate to say this, however, James Vowles may have been right to say he sees something more in current Franco than current Logan. Anyways, not to jump the gun or anything, but I could see him scoring points if Williams brings more upgrades and ends the year strong like how they did in Vegas last year. So overall, not a bad first weekend, and I am very eager to see what Franco can do for the remaining races. Back to Albon though, he is cooking, and is really good, but we know this, so yeah, moving on. Now for the most mid driver or team, and we have Alpine for here, since they weren't garbage, but they were just obstacles for people to overtake easily without a fight, but they weren't so bad since they were in the middle of the midfield, or in other words, mid. And that was my winners and losers for this year's Italian Grand Prix. Overall, an amazing weekend, and now we have to wait a bit for Baku, but you know what? I'm fine with that, since a part of me feels like Baku is about to be a crazy chaotic race, so stay tuned for the weekend preview next week. And speaking of the weekend preview, let us have a look at my delusional predictions I predicted in the weekend preview for Monza, and starting with the quali predictions, I got these ones completely wrong. Now for my race predictions, And I don't care that most of these are wrong. I said Charles was gonna win, and guess what? He won, and the championship starts now. And for my random prediction, you know what? I'm giving myself points for this, because had he not crashed, he probably would have been around or at P8. So yeah, but technically I am still wrong. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, since that would greatly help me in making better content. And let me know in the comments who your winners and losers were. And as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.